The Richard Sharp report is due out, we're told, imminently. That could be by the end of today, by tomorrow. I don't imagine it will wait until the beginning of next week. This is something which really needs to be cleared up as soon as possible. It makes Richard Sharp himself, as the chairman of the BBC, into a limp duck. And although he has denied that he facilitated the loan with Boris Johnson, or indeed that he facilitated the introduction between Boris Johnson and the person who did facilitate the loan, Sam Blyth, the waters are very muddy, and it's quite clear that he was a Conservative Party donor prior to being appointed as the BBC chairman. The links between politics and this significant role are too uncertain to be thoroughly sound without being tested, and particularly for an organisation which prides itself on being impartial, the person right at the top seems clearly not to be impartial and seems clearly to be linked in a murky way to Boris Johnson. In other words, until it's proven otherwise, the chairman of the BBC seems partisan and biased and inappropriate. What I don't understand is why people like Richard Sharp and Dominic Raab remained in position while such an intense and high-level investigation was being carried on about them. As we know with Dominic Raab, that investigation proved that he was in fact guilty of some of the allegations against him. Guilty of some means guilty. He is a bully. Full stop. Doesn't matter if if a few of the allegations weren't proven. He certainly was a bully in certain instances, and I'm sure there are other instances which never came forward. It's grimy, and it's grimy that he was allowed to stay in position, while this was going on in the same way up in Scotland. It seems to beggar belief that people who are being investigated can remain in their posts in the SNP while police investigations, even more serious, are taking place into what happened with Caravan Gate. I entirely agree that in this country we have a principle that you are innocent until proven guilty, but this is not about criminal law. This is about the people who are leading our country. And the people who are leading our country, I think, should be, like Caesar's wife, beyond suspicion. We should be holding these people to a higher standard because they represent us. Because we don't have the time, we don't have the access to be able to interfere in the running of the BBC, to be able to personally stand up in the House of Commons and talk intelligently about this particular proposal or that particular proposal. No, we leave it to people like Andrew Bridgen to talk intelligently in the House of Commons, but instead he tweets. And he sacrifices an entirely valid and worthwhile discussion because he spends so much time detailing it on social media and pandering to people who are otherwise linked to what seems to be and what can be dismissed as a conspiracy theory. And yet he may well have had, and he may well have, valid points to make. This is the point. We hold our elected representatives to a higher standard because we expect them to take care over what they say. We expect them to moderate their language. We expect them to play by rules which we may not know, but they know. That is their job. That is their job. They are the professionals at putting forward the case. So when they don't, and when they can't, and when cases are brought about them and their integrity is directly challenged, they should step aside because they're no longer in a position. They have become the subject. They have become the thing that is being talked about rather than being a voice for others. They're no longer a voice for others. Their voice is used now to defend themselves. And the only thing we're interested in when it comes to Richard Sharp is whether or not he has a dodgy relationship with Boris Johnson. That is the only question that we're interested in. Everything else falls by the wayside. He cannot do his job. In the same way with Dominic Raab, the only question we were interested in the last year has been whether or not he is a bully. He's gone. And the same thing was true of Priti Patel. Was she a bully? She was. She stayed. How could she be taken seriously after that?